I don't know whether you remember the poignant interview on the BBC yesterday or the day before. So let's begin with that. With Betty Brown, aged 92, who ran the Anfield Plain post office with her late husband Oswald. After years of letters, forms, interviews, she finally had a minister who knew her case, her losses, her limits. That minister, Gareth Thomas, is now out in the reshuffle. And Betty asks the obvious question, why waste time bringing another minister up to speed when time is the one thing victims no longer have? First, the facts. Gareth Thomas, the junior minister at the Department for Business and Trade who held the post office brief, has left government in the Prime Minister's September reshuffle. As of this morning, the successor for the small business and post office brief has not been confirmed. The brief is, for now, vacant. Second, the state of play that Thomas leaves behind. In July, Volume 1 of Sir Win Williams' report set out the human impact and 19 recommendations and set a firm response deadline of the 10th of October. The government accepted several points in principle, including allowing GLO claimants to bank their best offer and developing redress for close family members who suffered personal injury, including psychological distress. Those are not academic pledges. They are the difference between closure and yet more bureaucracy for thousands. Third, progress and pace. Ministers say total redress paid has now passed the £1 billion mark, with figures in July indicating roughly £1.1 billion to almost 8,000 claimants after the fixed sum routes and conviction scheme accelerated payments. That is meaningful. It is still insufficient for those like Betty who remain stuck in assessment or dispute. Fourth, the structural moves. The government has been preparing a green paper on the post office's future, backing Nigel Railton's transformation plan and a shift to a fully franchised network, while promising to maintain service levels in the same communities. Whatever the financial logic, franchise transactions carry real risks for service continuity, especially where post offices are the last banking counter left in town. Any stumble here will land on the very people Horizon harmed. So why does the ministerial change matter? Because the Horizon crisis is a high-definition, high-detail redress programme, and continuity of stewardship is not a luxury, it's an ethical obligation. The programme requires four things that churn undermines: institutional memory. Each case has context and a paper trail. When a minister understands why an earlier decision was made, needless re-litigation is avoided. 2, the discipline deadline. Sir Win set the 10th of October for the official response to the 19 recommendations. A vacancy invites slippage. The victims read slippage as indifference. 3, negotiating leverage. Talks with Fujitsu about an interim collaboration are at a sensitive stage. Relationships matter. A reset clock helps the stronger party. Spoiler alert, that is not the victims. And 4, across Whitehall, coordination, tax treatment, appeals design, mental health evidence and treatment of families' claims span HMRC, MOJ, DHSC and DBT. A new minister must rebuild those working rhythms from scratch. What then should happen today to reassure Betty Brown and every other claimant? Well, there are about 5 or 6 things. First, to name a successor immediately with a public letter to victims confirming that the 10th of October response date stands, and that existing policy decisions announced in July remain in force. No drift, no reopening, just delivery. To publish a weekly dashboard until the end of the year with 3 numbers only: claims decided, cash out of the door, median days to offer by scheme. If the figures stall, say why and fix it. It's too tiring to see the government dithering about actually delivering on its promises. To lock in the bank your best offer rule across the GLO process and the independent panel, victims must not be punished for seeking a fairer assessment. Quite frankly, it's appalling. The victims, as in the victims with the blood scandal as well, and other scandals across the NHS and so on. It's disgusting that these scandals all require the victims to go cap in hand begging for recompense. The government knows who they are. The government should be taking the first move. Finalise and publish the family member redress pathway with model evidence lists for psychological injury so lawyers do not create new bottlenecks by default, secure an interim payment from Fujitsu ahead of the inquiry's final apportionment, call it good faith money, call it moral down payment, just bank it and pass it through to victims, ring-fence service continuity during franchising, require mains level service where a Crown branch closes, mandate formal local consultation and announce a rapid reaction fund to prevent any gap in pension, parcel or government service counters during the handover. Finally, the wider lesson. So Wynne has already floated a standing public body for redress in future scandals. He is right. The Post Office should never have been allowed to run compensation for harm that it helped cause, build a permanent independent redress authority with a single accountable offer, tariff tools where appropriate, and the power to compel evidence quickly. That will save years when, not if, we face the next systemic failure. Betty Brown is not asking for a miracle. She is asking for a minister who turns sympathy into signatures and signatures into payments. Sacking Gareth Thomas without immediate continuity planning signals that redress is once again at the mercy of politics. The government can correct that signal this week, appoint, reaffirm the deadlines, report the numbers, pay what is owed, because justice delayed is, for many of these postmasters, justice denied, and the government is behaving in bad faith and has been doing so for many years.